Two big questions. Does the world's Muslim community have a future? And if so, what will it look like? I made a video about Pan-Arabism, where unity was sought along ethnic lines. Today we're looking at Pan-Islamism, the idea of unity among Muslims, regardless of ethnicity or nationality. As with everything, there are multiple answers and no easy questions. But first, let's get some framing out of the way. The collapse of the Ottoman Caliphate in 1924 is often seen as marking the end of Pan-Islamism's first golden age. The Ottomans were a multi-ethnic state, but as caliphate, they claimed to represent all Muslims. So Pan-Islamism, without Ottomanism, doesn't really make sense. Also, it's important to distinguish between two different senses of Pan-Islamism. Sometimes it refers to the idea itself, the desire for unity among Muslims. Sometimes it refers to those who advocate for this idea politically. Those advocates, especially during the Ottoman era, were called Pan-Islamists. It's easier to talk about the idea in the abstract, so that's what we'll do today. The basic idea is simple enough. Muslims should unite because they're Muslim. This contrasts with Pan-Arabism, which argues for unity among Arabs. Pan-Islamism also developed in contrast to European nationalism, which was all the rage at the time. The French had their nation, the Germans had theirs, and so did the Italians and the Russians. Each imagined their state as a community of people united by ethnicity and culture. At the time, many Muslims lived in these newly formed states, and they were on the losing side of this ethnic competition. Pan-Islamism offered an alternative. Why not unite all Muslims into one great community, transcending ethnic and cultural differences? But wait, Pan-Arabism makes more sense, right? We all know the Arab world has deep cultural and historical roots. What about Pan-Islamism? What's so hard about it? Well, let's go back to the fall of the Ottoman Caliphate in 1924. The Ottomans were untaid the only ones to fall. Many Muslims in their empire became subjects of these brand new states in the region, which were hardly interested in Pan-Islamism. They were interested in Pan-Arabism or Pan-Turkism or Pan-Iranism. The Muslim population was now divided into many different national groups. Then came the second blow. The British and the French had spent the last half-century dividing the region, ruling over local potentates, and stirring up ethnic and sectarian hatreds. When they left behind a region fractured along ethnic, cultural, and sectarian lines. Pan-Islamism lost its appeal, especially after the Iranian and Turkish revolutions of the 1920s, which were both heavily influenced by Western ideas of nationalism. Both nations began to see themselves as defined by language, culture, and history, rather than religion. And so, Pan-Islamism lost ground to Pan-Arabism in Turkey and Iran and everywhere else. That doesn't mean it went away completely, though. Regimes across the region continued to use faith as a tool to bolster their legitimacy, even as they acted against the interests of Muslims elsewhere. In Iraq, for example, the Ba'athist regime was staunchly anti-clerical and persecuted religious minorities. Yet when it suited them, they presented themselves as champions of the Sunni Muslim community. This tension between the concept of the Ummah and modern nation-states is still with us today. Think of the OIC, the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, which brings together the leaders of the Muslim world. It has 57 member states, all officially Muslim, yet it has never been able to overcome geopolitical rivalries and divisions. Saudi Arabia sees Iran as a rival. Egypt sees Iran as a rival. Turkey sees both of them as rivals. Pakistan sees India as a rival, and so on. And so the OIC remains a toothless organization. Can Pan-Islamism coexist with national sovereignty? That's debatable. Some argue that the very definition of the Ummah, the global community of Muslims, supersedes any one particular state. Others say the reverse. For them, the nation-state is the highest form of political organization. To define yourself first and foremost as Muslim is to be disloyal to your nation. Today, the idea of Pan-Islamism has found new life among youth movements. It's easier to imagine when you're young. Perhaps digital platforms allow for new forms of solidarity to emerge, allowing Muslims to connect with each other across borders. But whether that can grow into something more remains to be seen. If Pan-Islamism does have a future, it won't look anything like the past. It will need to accommodate modern realities like national sovereignty and competing ethnic identities. That may not be possible, or then again, maybe it's just getting started.